welcome to Bridgerton Fancast, and I forgot to find a quote. Michelle, the bugs!
My name is Michelle. I can be found at Musings on the socials, primary Instagram. But I have been getting back into Tumblr.
Ooh.
I know. So anyhow, you never know where I'll pop up. And I have not read the Bridgerton books with the exception of the last 3 that we've had seasons for. So I have finished. Ooh. The Polin book. Yes.
Oh, and I'm Rita. I'm at Annoying Rita on Instagram and nowhere else really because I barely have time for it. I'm the book reader and you will be hearing a lot about that.
Oh, yes.
In today's episode.
Yes.
Just brace yourself.
And we've finally reached the finale for season 3. This is not our final podcast, though. If you are a subscriber, you can look forward to a final letters pod squad and our book club episode where we discuss romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which might be a nice respite for all the complaining we have been doing lately.
Though I haven't reread the book in a while, so maybe I will be complaining. Who knows? Michelle, is it a good book? Or do we have to wait for people to to listen?
It was okay. It was an easy read, and it was entertaining. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember, we are watching My Lady Jane next. Woo! I heard nothing but positive things.
I'm so excited.
Which is a sweet relief. So subscribe to our sister pod in the books if that interests you at all. Yeah, just had so many good things and I'm excited to talk about something we actually enjoy. Woo! But before we can do that, Michelle, let's talk about the finale of season 3.
Oh.
Time for the recap. Take it away.
Alrighty, I'll get us kicked off with us beginning with the newlyweds. Penelope wakes up to find her husband already dressed after his night on the couch. Colin tells her he will be having breakfast at Bridgerton House and leaves, which is most convenient because Penelope has a visitor. Cressida has decided she would very much like to blackmail Lady Whisteldown for £10,000 so she can set up a new life abroad. And £10,000 back then is a stupid amount of money.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Get that money.
Penelope is like, well, no one would believe you anyway, Cressida, which is a big mistake because Cressida decides to test this theory out on Portia, who has just entered the room.
Let us find out. Think of your daughter's love of the written word. Think of how she is so easily overlooked, allowing her to disappear for great periods of time. Think of how all those she views as enemies end up humiliated in print. And then ask yourself, how it took you this long to realize she is the true Lady Whisteldown. You will pay me my sum, or I will reveal the truth to the entire ton.
Yeah. Portia can believe it. When they are alone, Portia's like, oh my God, this is so obvious. Why did I not see this before? She is deeply hurt that she was clawing their family out of ruin, and her daughter, in the meanwhile, was undermining those efforts. Not to mention raking in a bunch of money that they could have used.
While they were eating potatoes every night.
Portia advises Penelope not to tell Colin of this blackmail attempt, as she risks granting him grounds for annulment. But Penelope doesn't want to lie to him anymore. Over at Buckingham House, Danbury, or I should say Lady Danbury, excuse me. I shouldn't get so familiar with her.
That's Lady Danbury.
Yes, it's Lady Danbury is playing chess with Queen Charlotte. She asks her what she plans to do with Lady Whisteldown once she finds her. Lock her away in a dungeon? Question mark. This confused Charlotte because it's clear there is no plan beyond the thrill of catching her. Lady Danbury suggests that the woman she is seeking might be more vulnerable than she anticipates, and Lady Danbury can relate to that, having once been a mere pawn in the social climbing game. There's a lot of chess double entendres that really don't make that much sense if you have ever played chess, but, just roll with it. People roll with it. The sisters, formerly known as Featherington, are out for a promenade with their husbands, discussing their impending retreat from society, as women in the Regency era were expected to never be seen showing their bumps, with the exception of
Kate.
Kate, of course,
was just out there with a bump.
Right.
Whatevs.
I digress. Prudence decides she wants to go out with a bang, not a whimper, and declares the two sisters will host a ball. Because, God knows, we have to have another ball, don't we? Yes.
Yeah.
Another ball.
You can tell by the excitement in our voices. We're just so delighted. Violet is chaperoning a very reluctant Franny and John on their ice cream date. They're reluctant because the accusations of the family's involvement with Whisteldown still lingers over them, and everyone around them is staring, but Violet is convinced they could just nonchalance their way out of this one, which was actually her plan last season. It feels like I'm watching the same scenes over and over again.
Yeah.
Their talk turns to their upcoming wedding, and Franny announces they are planning on getting a special license so that they can have a small private ceremony at home, after which they shall retreat to John's family estate to avoid any further bullshit from the Queen. Violet approves of avoiding fucking with the Queen anymore, but then she learns that John's estate is in Scotland, in the Highlands. A fortnight's ride from London, if the weather is good.
Right. And fortnight, just to remind you, is 2 weeks. So.
Again, probably in the summer. You won't be making that trip in the winter.
No.
So. As far away as you can possibly get on the British Isles. Eloise finds Colin breeding at Bridgerton House and tries to reassure him that they will be all right. I mean, the Queen's accused her of being Whisteldown last year, and there were 0 consequences for that. So why change the pattern of a lifetime here and start worrying about anything? They are interrupted by the arrival of Penelope and Portia, who announce Cressida's blackmail plot. Colin talks over Penelope when she explains that she has the means to pay Cressida off, and decides that instead he will talk to Cressida and convince her that the situation is ruinous for everyone involved. An idea so dumb, I actually threw a pillow at my TV. Anyway, the next morning, Colin pays his call on Cressida and gives her a very long-winded speech about how he understands what it's like to be alone in the world. Lol, okay. Penelope, ignored by society, has endured a kind of loneliness that literally no one can fathom on the entire world, guys. Penelope is the most lonely person.
Yes.
Again, lol, okay. Penelope's column only reflected the cruelty she saw around her. And okay, yeah, I can't be sarcastic about this one. I can get behind that. And this is all a very cool story, bro. But that won't pay for a new life in Italy. So when he tells her that after some time has passed, he is sure her family and her father will welcome her back to London because, after all, quote, a family's love is enduring, end quote, I wanted to punch him. Because what in the Brady Bunch is he on about? Cressida tells him she has no such support and walks out of the room. Very obvious cut as the reshoot wig is back on Colin's head as he follows her out of the room. Whiplash as both of the actors change their emotions completely. Cressida goes from crying to suddenly angry. And he again yells, "You will not be believed!" Which, dude, we've tried that. We've tried that already. She tells him she has a printer's apprentice who's willing to corroborate the truth, and she now wants him to pay her double. So, thanks a lot, Colin.
Yeah, because if £10,000 was a stupid amount of money, £20,000 is unheard of amount of money.
Yo, but they're good for it. So she's blackmailing the correct family.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, get it, Cressida.
Over at Featherington House, Portia is trying to get rid of Prudence and Philippa, who have come to beg for extra funds for their ball. Portia refuses, but Varley steps into the breach and promises there is no housekeeper in all of London who can do more with less. Meanwhile, Penelope and Eloise are back to being BFFs again as they discuss Cressida. Eloise admits that the beginning of their friendship was fueled by a little bit of pettiness. Just a little.
Told you.
Yeah. Colin then enters and tells everyone he is fucked up on an epic scale and now they need to find £20,000. And Penelope needs to restore Cressida's reputation in print. Fortunately, the Bridgertons have money, so the new plan is to pay her off. We then cut to a threesome. The less said about that, the better. Violet and Lady Danbury are drinking Scotch whiskey together, and Violet laments Franny's move all the way up to the Highlands. But in her absence, she will have the support of Lady Danbury and the Dan brother. Yes, they are finally talking about the elephant in the room, which is Agatha fucking her dad. Basically, they could call it even because Danbury fucked her dad, she can fuck her brother, which is entirely bizarre, but about on par for what we can expect from this show. That evening at the Polin residence, Colin manages to resist the charms of his wife and decides to spend another night on the settee, which is probably for the best because we have too much story to wrap up.
You know, we can't watch another fingering scene for 16 minutes. We got, stories.
We got things to wrap up, people. Anyway, when he wakes, Colin goes to his desk where he opens and reads letters Penelope sent him while he was away. Except for this last time, because she didn't write to him, because she was mad at him.
Season
2 letters.
Season 2.
Yes.
Oh, God, shit. We've got to remember so much shit for this. Anyway. We cut to Portia, who has a meeting with that awful solicitor. He has realised that the money she has inherited was not from Aunt Petunia, but was the money Jack took from the ton. This is such an obvious cover. Come on. It took him this many episodes. Come on. Should have worked this out quicker. Anyway, Penelope, who has come to visit her mother, overhears this entire conversation and lays into her.
You stole from them! You humiliated them. You stole their dignity. What you and I have done is not different.
What you have done is a crime.
I did what I had to do to protect this family. Who were you protecting with your column?
Myself.
They are really mirror images of each other as they start screaming about protecting themselves. Portia thinks for a moment before admitting that it's been hard raising daughters when she was taught that all power comes from a man. She realises that what Penelope has achieved on her own is actually impressive and that they have both done the best they could with the opportunities society has afforded them. She takes her daughter's hand and tells her that if they survive this round, they must do better. If you want to steal from the ton, though, I'm completely cool with it. What about you, Michelle?
Go for it.
Go for it.
They're only going to spend it on some stupid hat. Stupid hat, another ball.
Peacocks at a ball or something, I don't know. Meanwhile, Franny is dressing for her wedding when her mother enters. Violet is clearly upset about her daughter leaving, but Francesca explains that she hopes the wilderness of the Scottish Highlands will allow her to know herself better and for that to bring her closer to her family. Violet tells her about the moment where she met her father, where she stumbled over her own words, and she thought that that was what love must be like for everyone. She says that she has shown her that there is another way. This was a really lovely moment that was completely fucking undermined by a later scene in the show, so apparently Bridgerton thinks there's only one way to fall in love. Fucking diversity just went out the window and flew to Never Never Land.
Yes.
I'm so angry, but I will chill out. Okay. Time for the wedding. The whole family is there, except Kate and Anthony, but fear not. They've been replaced by the Mondriches. Really? Who invited them? Do they even know John and Franny? So random. The couple say their vows. And when they have their first kiss as man and wife, Franny looks disappointed. Deep breaths, Rita. Deep breaths. You'll be fine.
Following the ceremony, the family have a few drinks and Violet begins to flirt with Lord Danbrother. Again, why would he be there? He asks her if he might dance with her at the next ball. And after a few blushes, Violet agrees. John then interrupts to give a toast, and it's so freaking beautiful and sweet. And he praises Violet for raising such a wonderful family. And honestly, I hope she feels awful for constantly undermining his suit, because this is the only healthy adult man on this show.
I will go down with that. That's the hill I die on. John is the only one.
We love you, John. Franny then invites her mother to play a duet together on the pianoforte, and as they do, it's adorable. Penelope and Colin suddenly remember that it's their season and go to the office to have a conversation. Penelope tells Colin that what she wants from him is not his protection, but his kindness, his empathy, and his love. He wants that too, but feels that as long as she lives with her secret, there will always be something between them. Penelope agrees and then makes a suggestion. The next thing we see is Penelope writing letters, one to Queen Charlotte. Can you just send Buckingham Palace mail? Is that something that you can do?
No, I don't think it gets through to them, babes.
Okay. And one for Violet, who we see reading them. Violet looks kind of pissed, but don't expect to linger on that. We watch as Penelope gives Varley some money for the ball. Aunt Joanna arrives at Cressida's joint, looking every bit the Disney villain. She sizes up Cressida and looks distinctly unimpressed. Even Cressida's mother is like, "Oh my God, this woman is awful. So you know that this woman must be the devil." Cressida eyes the clock on the mantle, clearly counting down the moments until she can get her money and escape.
Loud groan time, because we cut to Benedict in number 3. She's telling him that although she has enjoyed all the threesomes recently, that makes her possibly the only person on the planet, she has grown more fond of Benedict, and she'd like things to become more serious between them. Benedict is not interested in the slightest in settling down. You know, it's not his season, so he lets her down to it. We then find Benedict and Eloise on the swing again. Lord help me, I think I need a cigarette to get me through this scene this time. Eloise is again lamenting how little of the world she has actually seen. If she's going to change the world, she needs to see more of it than Mayfair. Benedict, like me, is completely confused, because just like last week she was saying she wanted to fit in with society and befriend all the debutantes. Now, she's over it. Doesn't really make much sense, but just go with it. Philippa and Prudence arrive at their own ball like giddy school children as they realise they have everything that they requested. All paid for by Penelope, of course, because quite frankly, she owes them one, after ruining them so many times as Lady Whisteldown. We then cut to later in the evening with the ball in full swing. Portia remarks that if this is their last night in society, at least Prudence and Philippa are having the time of their lives. Prudence then squeals in excitement as she realizes Queen Charlotte has arrived.
The Queen announces that she received a letter from the real Lady Whisteldown asking for her mercy, and that the author herself will address them all. Finch then sneezes, and after a very funny moment where everyone looks at him, Charlotte is like, "No, not him," and then points at Penelope. The Ton looks shocked. Well, except Lady Danbury, who has that "Mitch, I knew it" expression on her face. Penelope gives her speech.
No one has ever taken any part of me seriously. I only realize now how common that feeling must be. To be a young lady to whom no one listens. I wrote about all of you because I was captivated by you. Living your lives so out in the open. And in writing about all of you, I suddenly felt as if I had a life. I had power. And for anyone in this room who has ever had a taste of that, they should know it can be intoxicating.
All right, enough of that. She apologizes for being careless with the power she wielded and thanks the queen for forcing her out of the shadows so that she might aim her quill more responsibly. Charlotte gives her a public pardon and then leaves. Everything is a bit awkward for a moment before Philippa screams, "Now, Varley, the bugs!" And Varley releases butterflies into the room, distracting the Ton from any kind of reaction. Prudence pulls her sister aside and calls her a genius. And we have to scoop Rita up off the floor because butterflies.
It made me physically sick watching, like, when it landed on her finger. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to puke.
I believe that those are all CGI butterflies.
I know, but, like, I don't even like looking at pictures of them. I'm like, oh.
Oh. Lady Danbury, who has never had a scene with Penelope before, approaches her now and basically is like, "Girl, I knew all along and protected you. It's too late to try and make them close, writers. That ship has sailed. Thank you very much." Portia approaches her daughter and calls her a wonder. Penelope explains that they can tell the solicitor their money came from her writing and cover up the whole fraud thing. What a neat little solution. Little bow.
Little bow.
Yes.
Colin and Penelope finally have a scene together.
You know, since it's their season.
Penelope offers to give him an annulment, as she doesn't want any harm to come to him or his family, but Colin is like, "No way, Jose." He explains that after rereading all her letters, he realised that Whisteldown was not a voice she put on to sell more papers, but she, in fact, is Whisteldown. And he calls her bloody brilliant, which reminded me a bit of Ron Weasley, actually. Yes. I was like, Ron Weasley vibes. Colin admits to being envious of her success, but that he would be honoured to stand by her side and watch her shine. It is very sweet, but, you know, far too simple a conclusion. Mm-hmm. But we only have 10 minutes left, so we can just accept it, go with it. They go off for their billionth dance of the season. Can't have a conversation, but I've watched them dance more times than I've had hot meals. Across the room, Eloise begs Franny to accompany her to Scotland. She'd like to see more of the world, and after all, and Franny is going there, so Franny's like, "Yeah, sure, sis, but stay in your wing of the castle." Yeah, I forgot to mention, John has a castle. Yeah. Like, bam.
Yeah.
That is better than any duke's
or marquesses
estate. I'm sorry,
or,
fucking,
you know, anybody. Dude's got a castle.
You got a castle? I'm in. This is when John arrives and he introduces us to his cousin, Michaela Sterling. Franny starts tripping over her own tongue because she's fallen in love with her at first sight, and Michaela just looks at her like, "Is this chick okay? She seems brain dead." So, there we go. Violet was right.
Breathe.
Cut to a Lady Whistledown voiceover over a scene of Penelope and Colin fucking. Truly.
Yes.
A weird use for Julie Andrews. Yes. I felt unclean. Whistledown says she wishes anyone she has wronged only the best. And we then cut to Cressida being shipped off to Wales. Yay!
Bye, bitch!
Question mark. No. The next morning, Eloise is speaking to Benedict ahead of her upcoming trip to Scotland, and she remarks that she will be back next year for Violet's Masquerade Ball. Ah yes, the annual event we have never seen on the show despite having 3 seasons. Woo! By the way, that's a tease for the Benedict season, which I think will be happening next year. Or not. Who knows? Question mark.
At this point,
who cares?
Who knows? We head outside where everyone is gathered to bid farewell to John, Franny, Eloise, and Michaela. Penelope gives her friend a long hug, and they wave at each other as Eloise leaves on what will probably be a very uncomfortable coach ride. A final voiceover from Julie Andrews bids us goodbye.
I've just had a horrible thought. What if this is her last ever role?
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
But what if she needs to do something else quickly?
Don't say that.
Like, can you imagine? And her final credit is fucking Bridgerton. Julie, quick, release an audiobook or something.
Something, anything. Oh, God. So, don't think about this timeline at all, but Penelope, Philippa, and Prudence all have babies. But of course, Penelope had the boy. Of course she did. And Colin managed to publish a book with the help of Penelope, and it's better than Gregory expected. Hyacinth runs into the room announcing, "It's here!" And she hands out the latest Whisteldown, which is signed by Penelope Bridgerton. The end.
We made it. We made it.
We made it through the rain.
I can make it through the rain. Sorry, I just went into Mariah Carey. That's a really good song. Anyway, we're trying to avoid talking about the episode. Michelle, what did you think?
It was an episode crippled by all of the mistakes made in previous episodes. It had to be the way it was because we had too much to wrap up.
The only way it could end.
It was a damn shame because I felt like Penelope and Colin got a cracker's worth of the episode because of all of the other hullabaloo that was brought into the show to, I don't know, give it drama, make it ooh and ah worthy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we were all like, oh my god, I can't wait to see if Lady Danbury's brother will hook up with Violet. Wow, the drama.
Yeah, so there were moments in the episode that I really enjoyed. There were others that just made me angry because they were taking up screen time.
Yeah.
And then, the elephant in the room has to be...
Which one?
The introduction of Michaela Sterling, who, for those of you who have read the books, already know, as well as those of you that have been on social media, because apparently this whole casting thing has created a bunch of ruckus on the interwebs. But Michaela is actually Michael Sterling, who is...
I don't like the name Michaela, just straight out the bat. It doesn't sound period appropriate. Michelle is an option, I'm just saying.
Although that, I wouldn't have wanted that because then I think Rita would have developed a twitch anytime she said my name.
For the record, I don't really hate the character of Michaela. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about my main issue with it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it's just like a little cherry on the clusterfuck of this season. Like it was just the straw that broke the season's back.
Yeah. But I mean, all in all, they managed to close out some of the things that they'd left open and I guess get us ready for the next season. Yay!
I don't know, like I felt like even as a conclusion to a season, I felt like it went out with a whimper rather than a bang.
Yeah.
It was like, quick, we've got 17 storylines to get through.
Yeah.
And none of them was satisfactorily
yeah.
Is that a word? Wrapped up.
Yeah.
It felt like honestly a little bit dull because everything it's like very paint by numbers. It's like, okay, Danbury has given her approval to Violet and her brother.
Yeah.
Now we cut to this scene that we've wrapped up with a neat little bow, and now we cut to this scene and like, okay.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were ticking off scenes that they had to get to the conclusion with, and like most disturbingly of all, it felt like that with Polin as well. It was like, okay, well, we have to have the scene where Colin forgives her, tick. We have to have the scene where she announces she's Whisteldown and everyone just goes with it, tick. Like, okay. There was no time for anybody to get emotionally invested in this shit. It was just a bit... bleh.
Yeah.
How does this episode make you feel about the season overall?
I hate to say it, but it's a disappointment. It's my least favorite season of...
Is it worse than Queen Charlotte, is what I keep asking myself.
Well, I wasn't even thinking about Queen Charlotte, to be frank. But...
I would say Queen Charlotte we didn't really like, but I still feel like it was a better season of television because there was a manageable amount of storylines. The cinematography and the costuming was good, and it concluded well.
The conclusion...
We may not have loved it.
I thought that the conclusion of Lady Charlotte, like those last 10 minutes, were absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And, goes...
And that's what I mean with Bridgerton going out with a whimper. We didn't get, like, an emotional conclusion.
Yeah.
The epilogue happened, and I was like, yeah, well, I saw that happening.
Yeah, I mean, we called it that, Penelope was going to be the one that has the boy, several episodes ago. I
wasn't excited about it. I was just like, okay, that happened.
I think that... you had mentioned something about the timelines and stuff like that related to the epilogue. I think that I think for that epilogue or that scene to make sense, it would be that Penelope got pregnant very shortly after the wedding. And that the
thing
girls...
is that scene is clearly the beginning of the social season next year, right? Yeah. It's not 9 months between a social season. This is the thing that always fucking annoys me. Okay?
Oh, God. But, I mean, at least they had...
Make it make sense.
At least they had the baby boy at a earlier developmental status than the two girls. They at least got that right. Yeah, and I'm really upset that I can say that this season of Bridgerton is probably my least favorite because they tried to do way too much unrelated drivel, and it got in the way of telling a compelling story about Colin and Penelope and the challenges they face once they start their romance.
I realized that retrospectively that I did not like part 2, but I thought part 1 was actually... Remember when we recorded the first episode, we were like, this show is fun. And we were getting into the storylines and enjoying ourselves, and then part 2 came on and the fun had evaporated. Yeah. It was a slog to get through. And, all of the things that were slightly problematic in part 1 reared their head in part 2 in the second half, and just joy was sucked out of the room. And, I mean, the thing that bothers me the most as a Franny stan is the way this episode retroactively ruins the whole Franny and John season for me, because they've made Violet the voice of the writer's room, constantly undermining them. And now I can't even rewatch their scenes in part 1 and enjoy them because I know what's coming. It's like, this is all just... You've ruined the show for me. Thank you. Well done.
Yeah. And granted, I didn't know anything about what the John and Franny storyline was going to be until, we got to...
Well, I told you.
We got to this episode and, kind of Rita filled me in on what all was going to be taking place as part of...
Or is it anymore? Who fucking knows? Who
knows? At this point...
Is it?
Yeah. So, yeah,
For all we know, they could end up in a throuple.
Oh.
The show loves threesomes.
God. Let's not go there.
But let's break down each storyline. So with Polin, I thought the resolution was really rushed.
Yes.
And was obviously not earned at all because they never actually gave Colin space to talk through his feelings or his hurt.
Yep.
And Penelope felt like she kept apologizing, but she wasn't actually listening to him. So that was annoying. But I think the scene where he's like, I've realized by reading your other writing that you are Whisteldown was a really good moment because it's the melding of these two dualities that we've had since season 1 that exist within Penelope. And for a while, he was just only seeing the sweet, innocent balloon victim version of her, and not the whole of her.
Right.
So I felt like the place they got to was really satisfying, because he could see the like sharper, wittier, ruthless version of her, which is very healthy for them. I just don't think it was earned. Like, it felt more like, oh shit, we have 10 minutes left of the show. Like, let's get to that bit, rather than feeling like it made any sense. It's like he read a letter and was like, okay, really?
Yeah. And it I know that, we could probably have a drinking game where people would take a shot every time they hear me say, let the story breathe. Because I say it so often. But, you're absolutely right. The conclusion that they came to was a great place to get to, but we needed more time for him to be able to assess this and put the points together so that he was able to be that support for her. He shouldn't be announcing the support and love that he has for her at that wedding after she's given that speech. That should have been something that, he was sharing with her prior to the whole, I have an idea about writing these letters,
I think it should have come in that moment, actually, where she goes to him and she's like, I don't need you to protect me, I need you to support me. That was the moment where he should have explained that he loves her or whatever I just said about the duality of Whisteldown.
But
that should have been the moment where they just had a longer conversation, but then they wanted to drag out the drama.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, what if he knows her? Like, bullshit, we know
he's not going to.
They're trying to create tension where it's like unnecessary. We didn't come for that, okay?
Yeah.
It's also the last fucking episode. It doesn't matter if their tension is resolved within 10 minutes or an hour before the end of the episode. Because at the end of the day, there's no more episodes for you to keep dragging the tension over. Like, you got us. We're watching the final.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not suddenly going to stop after 50 minutes. Like, oh, they're back together. Click.
Seriously.
Like, that's not how television works. I don't understand this.
No. It's maddening.
I want to talk about something positive because people kept being like, you're complaining too much, so.
Yes.
So, Portia. I love and will die for Polin Walker. And she was able to spin some of the biggest pile of shit into beautiful scenes this season. And the scene she had with Penelope is no exception, where she's explaining she didn't know how to raise these independent daughters because she was taught power comes from a man. I mean, I love that scene. On the other hand, it's far too self-aware for Portia. I was like, there's no way she realizes this about herself. But I loved it, despite the fact that it's not very believable because the performance is so good. And I love that the show can acknowledge that Penelope and Portia are basically the same person. The scene where Penelope comes in and starts yelling at her, I was like, you massive hypocrite. So it was great that Portia called her out on it. If they had maybe had this relationship turn into a more positive one in part 1 of the show rather than trying to cram it in the last 3 episodes, it would have been a bit better. But this is positive. We've got to take the wins when we can get them.
I agree. I loved the scenes with Portia and Penelope, and where they're both basically saying, "Okay, if we get through this, we must do better." I
love that.
I just love that so much, and it made me get a little verklempt. Just to know that these women have come through so much, and when she tells Penelope that she's a wonder, oh my God, I'm getting teary-eyed right now just thinking about it. It's like, you're a wonder. It's like,
I still think like 90% of why this works is just Polly Walker being able to do anything. Like, she can take the simplest of lines and make it magical. Remember when she said no, and it was the funniest shit you've ever seen?
Yes.
So she,
no.
You give her anything and she will make it work, even if it kind of rushed.
Yeah.
As this whole relationship has been. She's just able to find the line between comedy and drama.
Yes.
That I don't think all of the actors of the show are able to make things funny.
It's a skill. It's a remarkable skill that she's able to take things to the edge, and is able to have them come across as, basically both the masks that we see and, when acting, the smiling and the crying, where she is able to meld those two together so brilliantly. But yeah.
I still think she's the one. The writing of the show is iffy, but she elevates it into a way that not everyone on the show is able to do because she's just impeccable.
Yeah.
Sort of like Lady Danbury, you got Adjua there who is like taking the most boring lines and making them camp as fuck. Like,
yes.
This show is surviving because of the skill of its actors most of the time. It's certainly not because of the writers. So Penelope and Eloise, they're besties again.
Yep, they are. And I'm okay with that.
Did they ever have a conversation? No. Did I just get to the point where I'm like, fine, be best friends?
It's like, okay,
just do it. Fine.
It's like I said, I was okay with it. Because after a while, all of that animosity, given everything that is happening in the families and all that other kind of stuff, after a while, it's just going to be like, okay, I'm too tired to carry this animosity around with me anymore. I can't do it.
It's not good writing, though, to just be like, well, we've had this major conflict carry on for many, many episodes. Well, we will resolve it. Nah. I'm just going to stick them in a room together. Okay. I felt like Eloise did work through her issues with Penelope over the course of the season, but only through conversations with Colin. Like, she never voiced these things to Penelope, and Penelope was never able to, like, respond.
Yeah.
It was just like, we're friends again. Cool. Bye.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about all I really have to say about it. So, I mean, as far as, am I satisfied with how everything wrapped up between the two of them? I just don't have the emotional energy to put into that anymore, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because of...
Honestly, they're not going to bother to write a good scene for them. Why should I be invested in it?
Yeah.
It's like they're not trying, so why should I care? Yeah. So with something I do care about is Cressida. I thought she gave one of the most powerful performances of the episode when she was responding to Colin's abject bullshit.
Oh my God. That scene.
I'm sorry, but it was.
Oh, it was.
What's wrong? Is he brain dead? Does he not know? It's like...
That was the stupidest argument he could have brought into that scene, expecting Cressida to have compassion for Penelope. Where did he even think that was a possibility?
It's like he's an actual idiot, isn't it? Okay, in some magical land where she could empathize with Penelope, it does not solve her fucking problem, does it?
No.
She's trying to escape her abusive family situation, and he's saying, oh, Cressida, have you tried just maybe thinking about other people's emotions and feelings and, like, hoping for the best? And she's like, that won't fucking get me away from them.
Right.
I want money.
Yeah.
Give her money. Someone give her money. I would like her to escape.
I remember watching that scene, and as soon as Colin started talking, I was like, what kind of bullshit is this?
I knew going into that scene he was about to fuck everything up because when he's talking over Penelope for starters, being an absolute dick, but then he's like, I'm going to talk to her and see if she can be reasoned with.
And I was like, no, she's got her back is against the wall.
She's got an agenda. Yeah, she needs money.
Yeah. And that's going to be her focus. It actually blew my mind
that Eloise, who's supposed to be her best friend, didn't step up and say, you know what, she's in a terrible situation, she needs money, she's not going to fall for this. Eloise, you're supposed to be smart, constantly failing to be so.
Yeah.
Colin, well, we've never had much hopes of Colin, but fucking hell.
Yeah, that was just madness.
Kills me is that everyone got a happy ending except Cressida. I feel like she got more punishment for pretending to be Whisteldown than the real Whisteldown.
Yes, she did.
Penelope is out here living her best life, publishing under her own name, besties with the Queen and Danbury, baby that is miraculously Lord Featherington. Meanwhile, Cressida's in jail. So, how is that fair?
Did you notice her wig had a chain in it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. Justice for Cressida.
And a little something. Maybe I should save this for wig talk. But in a scene that they did not show, her mother's wig had a key in it. Yeah.
Fuck off. No, I'm not. No, I'm not getting into this. The wig should not be giving me plot points. I also really didn't like the scene where Eloise and Penelope were, like, joking about Cressida. I know in the moment everyone's supposed to be rooting for Penelope, but I was really put off by them, especially because Eloise knows her motivations. She's literally trying to get away from an abusive household. Her father was basically selling her off to be raped every night. And for Eloise to be like, can you believe this bitch? With Penelope is really distasteful and made me not really like them. I'm like, maybe Cressida is the good guy and you're just the bitch.
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Free Cressida! Should we make t-shirts of Cressida behind jail?
Yes. Free Cressida. Get her away from Cornwall.
No, it's Wales. It's way worse.
Oh, Wales. That's right. It was the Featheringtons' aunt that was in Cornwall.
I kept thinking, like, do you think she knows Ross? That would be fun.
Oh, God.
Spin off.
Ugh. Well, how about the Queen?
The scene where Lady Danbury pointed out she had no end game.
Yeah, it's like, what's your point? What happens
I think
next?
what they were going for was like a powerful point about Queen Charlotte abusing her power. But what it came across to me as is pathetic because they've wasted 3 seasons on this storyline and they've never thought of a reason, a motivation. There was no real goal. And in the end, they were like,
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, so what are you going to do?
Dunno. 30 episodes of her trying to find.
Yeah. And not having a reasonable result that would come out of this 3-season story arc. It's like we had this story arc and it just goes off a cliff. in the last half of the 3rd season. It's just, we don't know. Shrug.
Shrug emoji was what they were doing in the writer's room. Well,
I don't know. What do you think we should do? It's just absurd.
I have been saying all season the Queen's going to save Penelope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's inevitable. And I don't think a crazy idea to get to when writing the show, but you need to get there in a way that makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like, they were just like, well, this is an inevitable conclusion, so we can just conclude. And it's like, no, you need to get from point A to B. You can't just have Penelope writing this letter off screen and have all... This is crazy that they pulled this off.
Yeah.
They had Penelope write a letter that we don't know the content of, that suddenly changed the Queen's mind, even though she has been egging for 3 seasons. This is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
We got like 10 seconds of her looking at a piece of paper, making a facial expression, and then boom, she's on board.
I mean, we got more out of, Violet's reaction to the letter than we did Queen Charlotte,
And even that was shit, to be honest.
I mean, she was like,
if you're gonna...
Colin? It's like,
shh.
Shouldn't
we
should
know
talk.
what was in the letter, by the way? She's apparently such an amazing writer, she can convince people to get on board with this absolutely insane idea. But we don't get to know how, why, what she said, why it was convincing. You can't have important things like this happen off screen.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
Come on. Is everyone in the writer's room okay? We need to be checking the CO2 monitors because they're just like... It's like entire pages of the script were missing. They're just like, yeah, the Queen likes her now. Why? We'll never know.
Okay. Just go along with it. Just be happy. Like, no.
We don't...
We're gonna take a look at this and see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, we gonna say something about it. That's what we do.
I felt... But even also, like, anybody that was watching must have been like... I know we're overly critical, but, like, if they're watching this with any kind of brain engaged, would have been like, wait, what happened? Why?
Yeah.
And we'll never know the answer.
Yeah.
Because they're not interested in actually making this make any sense. And it's not like they haven't had enough time with a lot of the other stuff. We go, oh, well, they've got to wrap things up. This, you had 30 episodes. Like,
yeah. 30. 3-0.
3-0 episodes to come up with a reason why she's obsessed with Lady Whistledown, and B, have like an endpoint for when she finds her.
And
Neither
she's had some level of conversion, which will allow her to be able to go, you're forgiven, and have it make sense. But don't do it off screen, please. So that we can understand what the turning point is.
What happened
is
the question that I have. What happened?
I mean, I would love it if they released the letters that were written. I would love that. I mean, just, being the nerd that I am for this kind of stuff, it would be great to see what those letters contained.
I mean, when you think about it, the plot that they've come up with really hinges on Penelope's letters. Both her letters to the Queen and Charlotte, and her letters to Colin between season 1 and season 2. These are things that we will never read.
Yeah.
They can just say, well, the letters changed their minds. And we just have to take it at face value. If that's not good storytelling.
I would love to see those letters.
The magic bean made him strong. Woo!
Yeah. We'll never get it, so I'm not holding my breath for any of that. But, we could woulda, coulda, shoulda this thing to death.
And we shall forever.
Oh my gosh.
I think what that's called in storytelling is a MacGuffin. It's an object that gets the plot rolling, and they relied too heavily on them this episode because it was just like, the letters. What letters? The letters. Can I see the letters? No. Just take my word for it. Violet loves her now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
If you say so.
Boy.
Benedict number 3 and number 4. Well, everything we said about Benedict becoming a bi cliche has in fact happened, and he's really hit all the tropes on the head by being unable to commit to the woman he spent most of the episodes pining for.
Yes.
So, well done.
Yeah. Thank you, Benedict, for representing being...
Hope everyone's really happy.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Go bisexuality.
Yeah. I really fucking hope that next season is his season so that he can stop making us look like horny sluts. The way he's just like, nah, I know I pursued you. But I'm not really looking for anything serious right now.
Right. Yeah. And be like, oh, great.
And why have I had to watch it?
And you can see that Tilly was upset by what winds up happening in the end. I mean, not to the point where she's... How dare you call her Tilly? She's number 3 to all of us.
Yeah,
okay, number 3.
And apparently to Benedict, because he ain't going to remember her name next.
Yeah. But, she was surprised and a little sad by what wound up happening. And it was just like, oh, for God's sake. And of course, with her saying, this was fun, but I'd like it just to be the two of us for now. And then he is going, thanks, but no thanks.
This is your heroic lead. I don't understand.
Lord.
I don't understand. I mean, they kind of set up a few things that made it seem like next will be the one for him.
Yeah.
I've seen a
couple of references to, it was one of the pictures from Wimbledon that came out in the last week where, he had been in attendance at Wimbledon, and they were saying, next Bridgerton season's lead, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
I don't know that. How
do you know this? And we're all still kind of sitting here a little confused because, they've set up John and Franny to be the easiest one to step into because they got them together in this season. It would be kind of a natural step to go into that.
They've actually set up 3.
Well, yes. But
they set up Benedict, they set up Eloise, and they set up Franny. All at the end, one episode.
Yeah, but I think
book readers are watching this going, what the fuck is happening?
I think that Franny has a lead in this race because they're already married and they've introduced the next love interest, and so they can just kind of dive into season 4 without having to do a whole lot of setup. For Benedict, even though we've been dealing with this
nonsense. It's just
nonsense. Yes. Well, we've been dealing with his developmental nonsense for the last for the last 3 seasons, there's still going to be a need to set up the introduction of the love interest and all of that kind of stuff. And with Eloise...
You know my theory, though.
Eloise,
my theory is,
I have no idea.
My theory is that they're going to do all 3 at once.
I
don't think this show is going longer than 4 seasons.
Yeah, I think that you are probably right.
God help us, everyone will be complaining about everything.
I know, right? I don't know what I haven't really paid that much attention to how the ratings are going and that kind of thing for this season. But,
huge fucking hit. So it turns out the worst writing ever.
Yeah, but
it's very popular with
huge hit
people.
So, I mean, if season 3 of Bridgerton is going to deliver the cashy money in buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets, then we could go on to see a season 5. But I'm not convinced. Well,
there's just this problem that they have with the last 2, Hyacinth and Gregory, being children. They have no problem recasting, as we have seen, but I don't think they want to. And I think that if they can get 3 love stories out in one go, they will, and then just be like, the end.
Oh, man.
Then again, there's also like the Shondaland format of trying to have 17,000 seasons of a show. But God, can you imagine this show? It's bad now, but season 8.
No!
Exactly.
No! Although, one of my theories is that we're going to wind up getting a spin-off series for Violet.
Yeah.
Which I know...
Nobody asked for that. Here's the thing. She's told 17 different versions of her meeting her husband. Now it's they were best friends. She fell in love with him instantly. Which one is the truth? I don't care.
But, that could be something that they decide to do since, they did it with Queen Charlotte and apparently that went well. So, who knows?
It wasn't... I don't think the Queen Charlotte viewership was very high. It turns out nobody asked for the show, and I was correct. Turns out people didn't ask for it, so they didn't watch it. Yeah. It is funny that there's been so much discourse of people who watch the show versus the book readers, and they're always nobody cares about the books, blah, blah, blah. And it's the one thing that they made that went completely deviated from the books was the least popular season. It's almost as if the entire show is built on the back of the people who bought the books and were fans for years. I'm just saying, all of these people complaining the book readers are too annoying. It's you wouldn't have a fucking
You wouldn't have a show without the series.
Without the book readers. Yeah. You wouldn't have a show, and we were the inbuilt fan base that attracted Netflix to sign this show up and be if we commission this show, there's already a group of people who will watch it. Okay? So, stop coming for book fans. Don't be haters just because we read. Anyway.
Seriously. Oh, God. Okay.
Let's talk about the Mondriches. Why were they at the wedding?
Must we?
Why were they there? Did they say anything all episode?
Not really.
So they were extras.
They may have done a strategic wave in one of the scenes. The ball scene, of course. They were at the wedding, too, weren't they? At John and Franny's wedding?
John and Franny's intimate private family wedding.
Right. With the Mondriches. Yeah, that makes total sense. Right. Okay.
And, Lord Anderson was there. Kate and Anthony weren't there.
No.
But Lord Anderson was.
Yeah. Well, Anthony's on their way to India.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's no problems with that at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think, we were correct when we said that they were being used as props for diversity.
Yeah, which really makes me a bit peeved. Okay, more than a bit peeved. Because my guess is we will never see them again. I don't see why they would wind up
They'll be in
coming into season 4.
Being annoying.
Well, for
Why
what
were
reason?
they in season 2? Why were they in season 3? You know, at this point, they're just there and they're not going away. They don't need reasons to be there. They will be there.
Well, there was at least a little more of a reason for them to be in season 2 than for them to show up at all.
There was no reason. Why the fuck? Look, I will never understand why we got that stupid bar storyline, acting like Anthony gives a shit that he's opened a bar. Anthony wasn't his friend. What the fuck?
Well, it gave them the opportunity to say, this is awesome that you've opened this this place, and it was all opened with the honest sweat of your brow, that kind of thing, which of course the fact that whole storyline petered out to nothing is just ridiculous.
Lord Featherington killed, but it's okay because Penelope has birthed a new Lord Feathering.
Yeah, but I could accept more Montages in season 2 as a carryover than I could season 3, because the whole season 3 thing, it's like your son is now Earl of Kent, whatever his name is. What was that?
Now they're a part of the ton, there is more reason for them to be at social events and to be included in ball scenes, like with Lady Danbury and shit.
It's like, no. No.
Just because you don't want to see it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Like, I guarantee you, they're paying them a wage.
Ugh. It's just, if they are back in season 4, I think I'm going to have to write a letter.
Let us do magical things now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They do.
Lady Danbury.
Yes, Lady D.
I call bullshit on the she knew all along thing. It doesn't... You can't retroactively pull shit like this because we can rewatch seasons 1 and 2, idiots.
Well,
and you have to actually have the two characters interact for Lady Danbury to make such a proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know somebody's character, and it's very fucking obvious that they've never spoken to each other, and what the fuck are you trying to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes me annoyed because it feels like pandering to book fans, and at this point, you don't get my approval.
Oh God! And we are definitely going to wind up getting into that during the book club. But yeah, I mean, I could buy it if she began figuring it out after the Queen's whole busting in on the wedding breakfast and her proclamation. I could buy it that it was something that got Danbury's wheels turning, and as she says in the final episode, there's only one other person who loves the Bridgertons more than I do, and that's you.
Yeah, you have to show that on screen though. You can't just go pull a rabbit out of a hat and go like, "Hey, I knew the whole time."
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. We would have had to have seen that cogitation going on in her head. But, we had a whole bunch of the 11 billion other things that we had to get on screen, so no time for that.
Don't do it.
I still love
It made me annoyed
Danbury.
more than anything. I was just like, this would have been cute, but now I hate it.
I will love Lady Danbury probably until the day I die, because she is just so fabulous.
I was watching the election coverage for the UK, despite not living there anymore. I'm still like weirdly invested. And guess who popped up at like midnight to talk about the results?
Who?
Adjua. She's like a whole national treasure. She's like, she
Awesome.
just shows up whenever anything. She was like on the coverage for the election, the coronation of the king, just like every time there's anything. She was hosting the proms. They were like, Adjua!
Oh my gosh.
She does everything.
I didn't know she was at the coronation. That's cool.
National treasure.
I look forward to forwarding her on Instagram and seeing what else she's up to. So, all right, Violet and Dan brother, garden is in bloom. She's getting ready to till. I don't know. I don't garden, so it's like I don't know the terminology beyond the broader
If there is a
metaphor.
God, though,
Yes.
she will have got with him off screen between seasons, and we never have to think about this again. Because, oh my god, I don't want to watch her have sex.
No, thank you. Don't need it.
That is
Don't want it.
not what I want.
No. Nope.
Do you think anybody was like, oh, I can't wait to watch season 3 to see if Violet hooks up with a man?
Well,
like, no.
Since there were so many storylines going on, it would have been a crapshoot to say what all we could look forward to seeing, given how many things sprung up that we were like, huh?
Nah.
What?
Ain't for me.
So let's get...
It's really funny because they set it up in Queen Charlotte, and as we've previously discussed,
Yeah.
that was a very unpopular show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, well, we have to follow through from the show nobody watched. Well, no, you didn't.
Oh.
And we don't care.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how, the brain at Shondaland works on what the hell they're going to be doing next. I am still not convinced that we won't see another spin-off, but we'll get to it, when
Depends if
you
they
know,
can
it happens.
merchandise the shit out of it. I don't know that everybody's going to be like, ooh, Violet Bridgerton merch,
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Okay.
Well, let's get
The
into
biggie.
it. Franny, John, Michaela.
Obviously, this is a controversial subject that, I have not seen it, but I hear that there is anger and a lot of wanky discussion posts and hot takes that I am avoiding like the plague. And I get that the issue of representation is important to people, so they feel the need to defend every version of it available because there's still not enough LGBTQ people on screen. But my problem is just how the show is written in general, and particularly this has been badly written, and I will explain why. So in part 2, they have been undermining John and Franny's relationship through the voice of Violet, and it was giving me major red flags. Mm-hmm. But I was just trying to ignore the red flags and just enjoy their relationship. But when they got married and Franny looked disappointed
Yes.
after they kissed,
Yes.
I was like, oh my fucking
dear.
god. Mm-hmm. They have tricked me. These motherfuckers.
Oh.
They had me thinking that they had some respect for this relationship, but they have already fucked it up. And at this point, we hadn't even met Michaela, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I will burn Netflix to the ground. Because she loves John. That is a fundamental plot point. And then lo and behold, we met Michaela. And then Franny just flips her lid and falls instantly in love with her. And I was like, that's just not supposed to happen. Franny's whole book narrative is about how she was able to have 2 loves of her life. First John, then, and the then is important, Michael / Michaela. And the way they have adapted this turns what was quite a subversive love tale about finding life after love, in the words of Cher, into this cliche shitty love triangle where I don't think Franny really loves John more than anything than platonic.
Yeah.
And she's going to be emotionally cheating on her marriage for the next few years because she's pining for his cousin.
Right.
And that is
not
so deeply unlikable.
Yeah.
It's deeply unlikable
really
and ruins
is.
her as a character.
Yeah.
And I think whether he's Michael or a Michaela, that's just a shitty version of the book. That's just the worst version you could come up with.
Yeah.
Is trashing the character and making this beautiful thing into just a pile of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, and then...
Yeah.
Then you add in the fact that it's Michaela. And I've previously said I think gender swaps in historical shows are impossible to pull off because there is just such a specific gender role in the Regency period. And there are things that Michael can do that a Michaela cannot, like inherit a title, travelling solo around the world, having a whole sexual history that was unavailable to women. And that is just impossible for Michaela to have. So at this point, Michaela is not Michael.
Right.
That's not the same person.
Right.
We're not adapting the book. This is not the same storyline. And it's actually a very unlikable version of Franny, this character that I loved. They butchered the book because it's nothing like it. And I hate the thought that they're going to stick Michaela or John or Franny on the cover of that book and try to sell it to people, because you're going to have people picking up this story expecting to have some kind of queer love story and then reading a very conventional straight one. Like, that's fucking crazy. And all they've done is remove anything that was remotely interesting and subversive about the themes from that novel and made it a love triangle.
Yeah.
And haven't we had enough of those?
Yes, we have.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
This was the one novel in the series that had some really powerful and important themes about love and loss and fertility issues and all these things that a lot of women could relate to, that were, I mean, when you read a fluffy romance novel, you don't tend to get those themes. And, like, all of those are eroded by their shitty decisions. And basically I left this episode thinking, this isn't for me anymore. Like, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And I can't... The thing is, like, I watched it and I was like, this Michaela actress, charming, lovely, beautiful. And yet, I cannot get behind this.
Yeah.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah. And I think that you know, how you have framed your position on this whole situation is incredibly fair and incredibly objective. You know, even though as much as you love the books, you are approaching this from the perspective of, this is going to fundamentally change what Julia Quinn has written for this character, but it's also flying in the face of the realities of life during the Regency era, where, you know, you said it beautifully, you know, women couldn't inherit titles, you know, they couldn't be gallivanting around the world, you know, without having a whole bunch of shit talked about them. And you
we
know,
can't all
that,
be Tilly.
Yeah. And that the way that they have set this up, with Franny basically becoming a babbling idiot when she is introduced to Michaela, there's nowhere for them to go with that except a love triangle. And that's not what happened in the book. You know, and you said love and loss, having two loves of one's life, you know, to show that, you know, it is possible to wind up finding love again after, you've suffered a terrible loss, which, maybe that's what they're doing with Violet's character, and having her get involved with, man later in life. But I don't appreciate them trying to add that to the story when they had a perfectly reasonable way of doing that, and they've chosen to, basically toss it aside. It would have been fine if they wanted to go with Michaela, but, they've basically showed their hand with what they did in this last episode, and it's crazy making.
The thing that I'm most scared about, I guess, is that people have been saying if you don't support this ship, you're homophobic.
Yeah.
And I cannot reiterate how much I'm not homophobic.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how this can be achievable in a way that will be the same story. And I liked the story, as I have said. I feel like if I was watching this objectively and I hadn't read the books, I probably would be like, well, this is a fun plot twist and I'm going to love this. Because, again, like they said, Michaela's beautiful, she's charismatic, this could work. It's just not going to be the same story.
Right.
And you have the added sadness of I got really, really excited when they showed Franny and John falling in love. I got really into it. And I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect foundation for the novel. And then they fucked it so badly that I now am just a sea of sadness.
Yeah.
I sent you a lot of messages like, Michelle, I'm just sad.
Yes.
It just made me so sad.
Yes. It was heartbreaking to hear just the heartbreak and sorrow in your texts. We're talking texts, people.
Multiple texts of me freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Just like, oh,
oh, gosh.
Not dramatic at all. No.
But, I mean, it is really troubling to think that someone would take our position of not being fans of this whole thing and jump to the assumption that we're homophobic, because no, not at all. And it's been logically explained as to why we are not fans of this,
Yeah.
Yeah. But, logic kind of gets in the way of people's brain cells when it comes to something that they're passionate about.
I think it's worse because I got my hopes up.
Yeah.
If I had gone into this, I had gone into this expecting the worst, to be honest, but then I got my hopes up after seeing the scenes of John and Franny in part 1, and then, it felt like a real gut punch.
Yeah.
It was just disappointing.
Yeah.
I should never have got my hopes up. I've seen the history that the show is at. I will say, the Simon and Daphne fans, you lucked out because you got a lot of good references to the novel, but they still improved on some bits, and it was a good time, lots of focus. And then it's just really deteriorated since then in terms of any kind of attempt for adaptation.
Yeah.
They're just be going off vibes at this point.
Yeah. But, we have a common theme here with our enthusiasms when it comes to adaptations. That we've come
we
to...
like books.
Yeah. We've come to expect not to have things go as well in the books or as well on the shows as they do in the books, hence the name. But, I think we both got excited about kind of where these stories could go and hadn't taken into consideration the, need for drama and merchandise and, all of this stuff that was going to keep people engaged because God knows they wouldn't have been engaged by how things went in the books. Even though we know that's not the truth.
What kills me is the Franny / Michael relationship is probably one of the most dramatic. I mean, her husband dies.
Yes.
Okay? Within the first, few pages of that book. Sorry for book spoilers, but, at this point, you fucking know he dies. And then there's the complete angst and heartbreak. Spoilers again. She thinks she's pregnant with John's child, then she loses that child. That's a whole thing. Heartbreak. Then Michael goes away for years. They're reunited. It's just a very fucking dramatic story compared to, Kate and Anthony that were running through a park with the dog. It's just way more drama, you know? You don't need to insert more drama.
Right.
It was a compelling, dramatic storyline. And, so I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I guess they needed some... See, here's the thing. I've seen some suggestions that, they should have made Eloise gay instead of Franny. Because, Franny's not a stereotypical lesbian. I find that really fucking annoying.
Yeah, and insulting as fuck. Thank you very much.
So insulting. Also, everyone knows lipstick lesbians are a thing.
Yes.
But the idea that because Eloise is a feminist, she has to be a lesbian is just...
That's just...
annoying. Keep your opinions to yourself. Yeah, so that's our stance. Please don't call me homophobic. I'm just a very upset fangirl, okay?
Yes. Yep, that's how it rolls.
Michelle, I'd encourage you to read that book. It's a very good book.
I'm going to. I'm absolutely going to.
It has the hottest sex scenes as well.
Ooh, see, there you go.
Because here's my confession. I find Julia Quinn to be kind of not very good with the sex scenes. She's very funny and she does really good banter between characters, but then when it gets to the sex scenes, there's a lot of the same vanilla shit. Everybody agrees that Michael was the hottest love interest because he has proclivities that do not just involve sucking tits.
Oh.
So thank you.
All right. So I will definitely read the book. I'll probably do that after we finish the book club. I'm not waiting until the season comes out.
There's no fucking point.
Yeah, seriously. But I'll look forward to reading it. So, okay. Are there any favorite scenes?
Oh, the Portia Penelope scene was fabulous, and
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, the scenes
great.
with the two of them I thought were fantastic.
Can't go wrong with Portia scene.
Least favorites?
Also, just the scene where she finds out is actually fantastic. You can see when Cressida's explaining it.
Yeah, and you can see the gears starting
turning.
to move. Yeah,
I would watch Polly Walker do anything. Can we just watch everything that she's in? Have we watched the Emma where she's Jane Fairfax?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, God. She's such a hottie in that.
She's so good.
I would die for her.
I mean, the first time I ever saw her was in the HBO series Rome.
Yeah, I tried watching that.
Yeah, that was.
But then I realised I literally didn't care about any scene she wasn't in. So she's naked a lot. Good for her.
Yeah. But that was the first time I saw her, and I was just entranced with her from that moment on. So
she's so stunningly beautiful, and they make her look so weird on this show.
Yes,
she's so beautiful. And so freakishly talented. And clever.
Yes.
It's just why isn't she in everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want a Violet spin-off? I would kill for a Portia
spin-off
where we...
Oh my God, yes.
Imagine? That would be incredible, watching her social climb.
Yes.
Marry Lord Featherington, realise he's a piece of shit, and then the end is her giving birth to her first child, realising she can pour her love into that. It would be...
Yes.
I'm sorry, but give me that show, Netflix.
There you go.
I would make it sensational.
Yep, there you go. Oh, man. That would be awesome.
Least favourite for me is obviously the butterflies, because I just thinking about it I felt nauseous.
Oh, God. That's awful. I don't have any issues with those kinds of bugs.
I know that this is just a me problem.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the release the bugs thing, but I was like...
I think I would probably be pretty jumpy if I was in a room and all of a sudden there are butterflies flying all around me. That would be a little scary.
Weird. You go to a pool and then suddenly there's bugs on you.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
Also, where did they find them? Are they all dead by the morning? Because
I don't know.
They're in a ballroom.
I would imagine that, it would depend on the time of year. And, there are people that will do butterfly releases at weddings and things like that.
This is a real thing.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. I've even heard of them doing them at...
butterfly hater, please write down that this is happening on your invitation so that I can avoid your wedding.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard of them doing them at funerals because of the whole,
next life.
Yes.
You've been reincarnated. Vibe.
Right, that kind of thing. But no, it happens.
That just feels like animal cruelty to me. I don't like butterflies, but I don't think they should be used for stunt. Like, at least these ones were CGI, so I can't be like, were any animals hurt?
Yeah. It was like, no, these are all fake bugs. As far as me, least favorite scene, I think, was the scene where Colin is talking over Penelope when they're trying to figure out what to do with the blackmail situation. And it just made me want to reach through the television and just slap him and say, shut up and listen to your wife, dude. Because she's telling you she doesn't need you to be mopping up things for her.
I wouldn't mind if he was actually good at helping, but he's not, so shut up.
Yeah, he's just, basically saying, I'm gonna go and talk to her. No thanks. But yeah, that's probably my least favorite. Time for...
Can we wig talk? We're talking wigs, baby. Can we wig talk? Baby. Talk about where we're growing.
Okay, so I didn't notice the
chain
in
yes.
Cressida's hair. That is now my new favourite thing. What I noticed the most, I think, was the major hairline faux pas that was happening on Penelope during the Dankworth ball, because no amount of red lipstick will cover up the fact that your hairline starts here.
Yeah.
Just like, girl.
That they have really done some criminal things to that woman's hairline in this show. And I don't know why laying lace and not needing to worry about it showing up is such a difficult thing for them to do. I don't understand why.
I don't know that they're very good at their jobs. That's the problem.
I mean,
I don't want to be mean, but like the things that they were putting out in promotional photos, it's one thing on screen because, maybe the lighting's bad or they're in the background or something. But in promotional photos before the season was out for season 2, I was seeing the hairline problem and I wanted to just cry because it's like you have eyeballs.
Yeah.
You're in the room and you can see that and you don't fix it.
They really need to do something about their wig game. Although the fact that we're saying this in season 3 does not give me much hope for season 4. But
I mean, look at the thing on top of Eloise's head. It hasn't changed in 3 years. It's not going to change in 4.
Well, I hope they do if she winds up being one of the featured Bridgertons.
They'll get rid of the fringe, please.
The easiest way to hide the fact that you don't know how to lay the lace is to throw some bangs on there. And it never looks good.
Or just stick half
or
of
glue them down. over the top.
Glue the weird curls.
Yeah.
I was so tired of only seeing half of Penelope's face this episode of just...
I appreciate...
It's just not...
Yeah, I appreciate them wanting to kind of mix up her hairstyle since, you know, we had seen her with all those teeny tiny little curls on the top of her head in first and second seasons. I appreciate that, and I appreciate, you know, having her have, you know, one or two moments where her hair is just spectacularly cascading, you know, because we know Colin likes that. But I think it really would have been beautiful to see her in some romantic updos for some of the ball scenes. Especially since, you know, at the balls, you're not supposed to be wearing your hair down.
I just think it got a bit tedious.
It was like, okay,
Have you seen this look?
Yeah, I get this is, you know, her new thing, but let's put it up a few times so that we don't forget that that's the period we're in and we're not watching a 1940s movie.
I've forgotten what period we're in. She showed up in a full red lip.
Yeah. That was kind of crazy. I mean, have we seen anyone else show up in a full red lip on this show? I mean, I love the color, and I actually think I have that exact Lisa Eldridge lipstick. But it was a shock to me the first time I saw it. It was like, okay, where did this come from? You know, sure, she's been caking on the makeup. Or I should say the makeup team has been caking the makeup on her like crazy. But, you know, for them to go from a nude lip.
No, it was never nude. It was the glossiest gloss you've ever seen.
Nude, shiny lip to a fire engine red lip was just like, what are we saying here?
Eloise was wearing a lipstick as well. It was like, oh, so we've all discovered lipstick. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Choices were made. I mean, let's get into the costumes, because I think that insane blue dress with all the sequins looked like something you could buy at Party City. It was so tacky. It was the wig, the hairline too big, too high up, the red lip, and the ugly dress. And I was watching her give that lame speech, and I was like, this is the highlight of the season, and I hate it. And the dresses are all tacky, and the ball is an eyesore, because all of the extras are dressed like it's the Capitol in the Hunger Games. Like, it's no longer any world you could recognize as Regency, and it was ugly. Like, more than anything, it was just not nice to look at.
Yeah.
It was all clashing colours. It was too much. I remember watching episode 1 of the show and being like, oh, this is not really Regency, but it's like a fun version and beautiful to look at. The cinematography and the costumes and everything melded together. Now it's like everything's fighting each other for attention. The makeup and the hair and the costumes, they're all... I mean, it's just... And also, did you see when she woke up and she was in her night dress and the sleeves? The sleeves... Like, it's like she had 4 shoulders. She looked like one of those... Okay, so I don't know football, but, you know, they wear shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads.
It's like she had one of those.
Yeah. You know, she was corseted to the nines in her nightgown.
Yeah.
You know, it's like nobody with a large chest would be on board going to bed that well supported. Oh boy.
But you know that the actresses, they've been given some terribly fitted corsets in the past, and we've seen the injuries they've gotten. Simone Ashley's talked about how hers made her feel sick. Yeah. Penelope has had to wear a corset in every single fucking frame of this show.
Yep.
So, Lord knows what Nicola went through to make this very crap season. This poor woman. They were like hot gluing curls to her forehead to cover up.
Oh, dear.
I actually have something positive to say next, though. Woo!
Okay.
I really liked Franny's wedding dress. It's my favourite wedding dress they've had in all the seasons, because there was actually some really interesting details. She had
it was
this
beautiful
structured collar thing, which really reminded me of Kate Winslet's wedding dress in Sense and Sensibility when she marries R.I.P. Colonel Brandon, and
Yes.
it felt period appropriate despite the colour. And there was like this beautiful beading work on her shoulders and down the hem. They had like scallop details, and it was just very intricate and interesting to look at. I think it's my favourite because it looks the least like something you could just go into any bridal shop and buy. Like Penelope and Daphne's, well, your bog standard stuff you could buy anywhere. But Franny's looked like something you could find at a costume shop or something, but very distinctly of a period.
Yes.
So it was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought that her dress was beautiful and really suited her. And I'm thinking now of John's toast, and it's just making me...
Don't get too emotional, because Franny doesn't love him.
Yeah. Yay. God.
Needle Drop was Lights by Ellie Goulding. Entirely forgettable.
Yeah.
Played during the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Song comes up, people dance. Woo!
Yeah. It didn't, it really was just kind of like, okay, next.
Performer of the episode, for me, is Polly Walker.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Yeah, she was fantastic. How many B's out of 5?
2.
Yep. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just incredibly disappointed, sadly.
What a whimper. So, will you be watching season 4?
Yeah, I will give it a try. I will give it a try. I'll watch the first episode and kind of see how it goes.
See if you care about any of the storylines.
Yeah. But yeah, I will give it a try. But I don't think I'm going to be as excited, in the lead up to it. So
we weren't that excited,
sad.
if I recall. We weren't like, woo, can't wait for season 3. Because after we were quite disappointed with Queen Charlotte. I feel like our enthusiasm had dropped. And then we really liked episode 1. Like, we were all like, oh, pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
So, maybe that will happen again.
Yeah.
And then you'll be disappointed at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I think all in all, it was a mistake to split, to do such an obvious split between the first half of the episodes and the second half of the episodes. That really, excuse me, that really kind of shot things in the foot for me.
I wondered why they chose to do it that way, and now I'm wondering if it had something to do with all of the merchandise releases and all of the products they wanted to release.
Could be.
With every time they went to a new location on their little mini world tour, they were also stopping and doing like, hey, you should buy this coffee creamer. So
yeah.
I feel like it's just a cynical ploy also by Netflix to try and get subscription numbers up and all those things. And all it did was it ended up undermining the season. And I think it's just another case where they're more concerned with the money aspects of running the show than the actual storytelling.
Yeah.
As for whether I watch season 4, I really don't want to. It's the truth of it.
I understand.
Part of me was like, we should keep podcasting because we started we started. We sat through the whole of Poldark against my will, basically. There was some dark times, When we got to our 17th riot of the poor people, I was like, Michelle, why are we doing this?
Yes.
So it feels kind of weird to be like, well, I give up after 3 seasons. But it's not fun to podcast about something that you're not enjoying. And I just released in the last few episodes, I've worried that people will hate me, basically. Just gonna be real. I've been a real downer, and I'm aware of that, and I don't want to annoy other people. Like, who wants to listen to me complaining all the time? I don't have fun doing it, like, complaining the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember recording the first episode, I was like, this is fun, woo! And now I feel sad, okay?
Yeah.
So let's not continue to torture Rita, I think that's the vibe.
Yes. We'll see how things spin out as we're getting into the lead up for season 4, but I don't know whether or not we have to commit now or ever, quite frankly, on
it's gonna
whether
take them,
or
like,
not
17 years just to make the next season anyway.
Yeah.
Who knows? The apocalypse might happen by then.
Yeah, sadly. Could.
We don't know who's going to be president.
Exactly. But you know, we'll see how things go.
I'll see who the season's about as well, because if it's not a Franny season, I might be able to sit through it. You never know. We'll play it by ear, but I just don't want to be in the situation where a bunch of people are yelling at us again, like with Poldark. They were like, do they even like this show?
Yeah.
We used
it's like,
to.
yes, we like it probably too much.
That's why we're sad now.
Yes, exactly. But okay, can you believe it?
Candles, corset, perfume, pens, tote bag, pajamas, tea bag, macarons, bulky toys, wedding dresses, medicine, teapots, high heels, coffee creamer, quiche, soap.
One last round.
So, we've got 2 Bridgerton products. Only one of them is real. Which one could it possibly be? Woo!
Okay.
One last dig at consumerism. Okay, so, option A. Ye olde Bridgerton bucket hat.
Oh, God.
Or B. Ye olde Bridgerton flower arrangement.
I'm going to go with the flower arrangement.
I've once again tricked you. They are both real.
Oh, my God. Rita, I'm never going to trust you again.
With products, yeah. Okay, so let me show you the bucket hat.
The bucket hat?
Before I do the bucket hat that is real, how much do you think the bucket hat costs?
$40.
You're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, my God.
£36. Woo!
Oh, well...
Isn't it ugly?
It is ugly, but it is not as ugly as I thought it was going to be.
It's just really weird, though.
Oh, my God.
Why would you go around with
It looks like...
Bridgerton?
It looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch logo.
Yeah, which just goes so well with Bridgerton.
I know, right?
Established 1813.
No, thank you.
Okay, so...
Okay.
The flowers by Urban Stems for Bridgerton.
Okay. Are these real flowers or are these silk flowers?
These are real flowers that you can send people.
Okay.
How much do you think one of these arrangements costs?
$55, $60. Oh my God.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Sweet Lord.
So, $100.
$100.
Or $115.
115. Wow.
Which one would you get? You got 2 options. One of them looks more Bridgerton-y than the
Yes.
other.
The toile looks much more Bridgerton-y. With, you know...
The glow-up is very Portia-coded.
Very much so. I would probably go with the glow-up. I like vibrant colors. So, that's probably what I would go
prefer
for.
the flowers of the glow-up. But I do love some blues. I find that one's a bit boring, but, you know, very violet. Yeah, it's sort of like looking at the flower version of Violet and Portia.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane that this costs this much money. And that this even exists. Because why the fuck would you send somebody Bridgerton flowers? In what world would that cross your mind?
No. Never. And, I have been burned on online flowers before.
Yeah, they're always a bit disappointing.
Yeah, so, there's no way I would spend that kind of money and trust that they would even remotely resemble what the pictures are showing. But I could see myself taking those photos and going down to the Pike Place Market, which is the public market here in Seattle.
Oh, I watch The Real World. I'm aware.
Okay, so I would take those pictures down to Pike Place and replicate them, which would be easy to do with the flowers that are down there. Yeah.
I mean, beautiful, but a waste of money. So there we go. That was our final Can You Believe It? What a journey we've been on. From me tricking you to me tricking you and finally me tricking you.
Yes.
Roller coaster.
It's okay. It's just mind-boggling that all of these things exist. But anyhow, thank you to everybody for listening. We really do appreciate everyone who has ever supported our little podcast. This isn't the end for us. We have a few subscriber pods to record. But if you aren't a subscriber, please follow us on Instagram for updates. You'll hear more about, what we're up to. And
my lady Jane.
Please stay safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.